Welcome to another remote edition of City Talk as we all Zoom our way through these conversations during the endless global pandemic. I'm John McIntire, and as our first guest, we'd like to welcome a brand new employee of the city of Pittsburgh, Rachael Heisler, the Deputy Controller. Rachael, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, John. I appreciate it. It's great to be here with you.
So we're all working from home, although I happen to be in the city county building to do this, but you are, it looks like, comfortably ensconced in your home area.
I am. I'm on the third floor of my row house in the central north side, where I have been for the last 11 months and counting.
Are you required to stay on the third floor at all times, or do they let you go on the other floor?
It's cozy up here, and I have a space heater, so it actually is a really nice workspace. And the street noise that
I was just going to ask about the heat. So you do have a space heater.
Yeah, there's no, we knew this when we bought the house, but there's no insulation up here. So we have a space heater, and it's the perfect office. So I'm happy to be up here.
Tell us what the controller does for the uninitiated among us.
Sure. The role of the controller, my controller Lamb is in that position. I report to him. The function of our office is to we're the watchdog for city spending. So we see what comes in, see what comes out, and what the money is being spent on, and make sure it is being spent appropriately and well on behalf of city residents.
And I'm assuming you have to have somewhat of a financial background in order to qualify for the job of deputy controller.
I have a background and an interest in how government spends money. I spent the last 7 years at the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. We were a 501c3 think tank in Washington, a fiscal watchdog group for the federal government. And I was thrilled to find the opportunity working in Pittsburgh city government. So I have an interest and a background in this work.
How about that? But you had to be hired under the COVID circumstances. So on the normal circumstances, you'd be in the office, in the controller's office on the first floor. And
Yes.
You've been mostly at home since being hired just a few weeks ago, correct?
Right. I started on January 11th. I went into the office for a quick visit to get my laptop set up, and otherwise I've been working from home. I was hired and interviewed from home. It's a very weird process for everybody involved. So I feel lucky that it worked out this way, and I'm the good grace of patient colleagues are getting me through these early few weeks.
So is there anything you've learned about the city finances that surprised you so far?
I'm still in the early stages of figuring things out. It's a difficult situation right now with COVID and just the fiscal impact on the city. But my colleagues have literally decades of experience in the controller's office. So I'm doing a lot of listening and learning from them. I feel very lucky to be in this office and to have strong colleagues supporting these early few days. It is a difficult environment to learn a new job.
I'm sure it is, although I'm sure you're up to the task. Tell us where you're from originally.
I grew up in Cumberland County. I'm from a town called Mechanicsburg. I came to Pittsburgh in 2003 to attend the University of Pittsburgh. I graduated and took a job right away with Congressman Altmaier, and I stayed in Pittsburgh for 4 more years. I moved to DC in 2011 and moved back in 2018. So I've actually been working remotely for 2.5 years, which it's difficult starting a new job, but working remotely is something I'm fairly used to. So yeah, I feel very lucky.
How did you find Washington, D.C.? I know you take a left to Virginia, but I mean, how did you like it there?
DC is a wonderful city. It was a wonderful place to live. It's a world capital. I loved it. I miss parts of DC, but I'm thrilled to be back in Pittsburgh. I chose to move back. I told my last boss, who I love and loved working with, I said, I'm moving back to Pittsburgh. I can work remotely, or I can find you can terminate me. And she let me work remotely for almost 2.5 years. So I was very lucky for that.
Cool. And how did you happen upon the job at the controller's office?
My predecessor in this role, Doug Anderson, was a colleague of mine on the first Casey for Senate campaign. So I met Doug 15 years ago and actually met Michael soon after. And when it was announced that he was going over to run the Department of Finance in the city, I immediately expressed my interest and said that this is a role I'd like to be considered for. And I went through a formal interview process. And I accepted right before the Christmas holiday and hit the ground running early in the new year.
Good for you. And you've chosen to live on the north side.
Yeah, I live in the central north side. I live on Arch Street, right down the block from my wonderful neighbor, Randy Dilson of Randyland.
Yes, that's right. So it's just a few feet away
Yeah,
from that. Yeah.
just a block away. He's a fun and wonderful character in the neighborhood.
Do you every once in a while just walk by Randy Land and stare in amazement?
Yes, it is the brightest and most cheerful building I've ever seen. So I'm looking out my window thinking like, oh, I should actually go for a walk to cheer myself up. Anytime you're having a bad day, I encourage any city resident to come over and drive down Arch Street and stare in amazement. It is very fun. He's instituted some COVID restrictions. So people flow is limited, but folks drive by and get a chuckle and some joy from Randy.
I've started to try to synopsize it. It's an extremely colorful house with all sorts of pictures and various characters exhibited
Things
all over the walls, but it's hard.
Yeah,
obviously.
it's lots of things. That's how I would just I don't know where this stuff comes from, but he has anything that he finds, he can derive joy from it.
And you mentioned, even though it's really chilly today, you might take a walk later. You are in fact a walking fiend. Correct?
I am. I walked 100 miles in January.
Wow. Not all at once.
Not all at once.
Okay, good.
And every time I end up back on Arch Street, but I go on very long walks through the north side, through Woods Run, on the weekends, and then during the weekday, I try to go on short walks over lunchtime just to get out of the house.
How have you been coping with COVID?
I read a lot. I walk a lot, as you know. I volunteer remotely. I'm very active with my neighborhood food pantry and my local, the Allegheny YMCA, where I serve on the board of both organizations. So that's finding outlets to be useful has been helpful. That's how, when I'm not walking on the weekend, I'm volunteering in that way. But it's just hard, and everybody's coping differently. And I think people are at different stages. And just, I told a neighbor who had an issue with their car over the weekend. I said, just everybody give one another some grace and this is just a difficult thing to deal with. And it's hard to, not be able to see your friends and your family. So I'm coping is how I would describe it.
Good for you. And do you find yourself talking to the walls, or just going completely insane like a lot of? That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm
the walls, my dog.
Okay.
It's difficult. I mean, it's just hard. And we've never lived through anything like this. So I think it's so unique, and such a weird and bizarre experience that there's no right way to do it. We're all trying to survive.
That's a nice way to put it. You say you volunteer for the food pantry. Is there been an uptick in the need for food?
It has ebbed and flowed, actually. The folks who have gotten the stimulus checks, there was one over the summer, obviously, May, and another one has come through for most families in the last 4 weeks. So that actually suppresses usage of the pantry. And then when those funds run out, folks start to visit the pantry. We have a curbside system built, but that is when we see the upticks. But numbers decline when government support is released, which is needed and should be offered to families. And then numbers start to spike. Things also got really busy before the Christmas and Thanksgiving holidays. So I feel very fortunate to be involved in an organization that's been so useful to so many of my neighbors throughout this. And I think experiencing food insecurity is one of the worst things that someone can deal with. And I feel lucky that I'm not experiencing that. And I feel fortunate to be able to help my neighbors.
Absolutely. So you mentioned you worked for former Congressman Altmaier and you work for Controller Lamb. Do you ever see yourself running for office by any chance?
I don't know. I really like the role I'm in now. I feel very fortunate to have ended up here. I cannot reiterate enough how many wonderful colleagues I have. And the support of Controller Lamb. But I love being able to serve my community. I do that, I think professionally now, 9 to 5. I do that in my free time, in the community work that I do. So we'll see. My goal is to survive COVID, and then we can go from there.
That is a brilliant plan. I'm going to adopt that plan right now.
I recommend it for everyone.
I wasn't sure what to do, frankly, until this moment in time. So I can't thank you enough.
John.
And do you have any final words, Rachael Heisler?
I don't. I'm looking forward to working with all my colleagues at the city, you included. And please reach out if anybody wants to do a virtual coffee. And hopefully we're all back in City Hall, in the City County building soon enough. I'm hoping the vaccination rollout continues to expand.
An excellent wish from your lips to God's ears. Rachael Heisler, Deputy Controller, thank you so much for being on City Talk.
Thanks, John.
When we come back, you'll meet Cara Cruz from the Department of Public Safety. Stay with us.
Alex Fisher has been with the City Channel for half its existence, and he has a special message for our viewers.
Here at City Channel Pittsburgh.
Hey, Alex.
Oh, hello. Here at City Channel Pittsburgh.
Hi, Alex.
Hello. Here at City Channel Pittsburgh.
Hey, Alex.
Hello. Here at City Channel Pittsburgh. Oh no.
We are City Channel Pittsburgh, and we've got your government covered.
Welcome back to City Talk. Say hello to our next guest, Cara Cruz, Deputy Public Information Officer for the Department of Public Safety. Cara, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
So public safety, I don't know if everybody out there in TV land and internet land knows exactly what that means. You comprise several very crucial and important departments. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's an interesting job because you never know what's coming any day. So it's police, fire, EMS, animal care and control, the park rangers. So honestly, it's something new and different every single day in the city. And it's it's a pretty reactive job, in the sense that, when things happen, that's, where we come in, we're for the media to provide information to the media and the public. And I always try to tell people that it's more of it is a public information officer position, meaning, that I'm, the media is sort of the conduit between, the city and the public. And but that's my job, to relay the important information.
Well, a lot of responsibility, because you don't want to get that wrong when you're speaking for the police or the fire department.
I'm glad that you understand that. I mean, because often these things are not happening, between 9 and 5. So one of the first things when I started the job in March of 2019, so almost 2 years now, is I would go around and I'd meet like all of the principal, command staff from police, fire, and EMS. And they'd always say, here's my cell number, call me day or night. And I was like, well, that's crazy. Why would I do that? Well, I have to do that pretty much every week. So I'm really lucky that I work with people who are that dedicated to be, available at that time.
So not only do you have to, on occasion, in fact, often get up at 2 or 3 in the morning and go to a crime scene or a fire,
Right.
You also have to wake up some of your colleagues to make sure you're getting the right information?
Well, luckily, hopefully that's not the case. Usually they're up if I'm up. So, the way it works is, there's on call for all departments. And those are generally the same people who are, showing up in the middle of the night to some of these scenes.
And you're on call for those particular duties, the overnight potential duties, every third week.
Every third week.
So is every third week the week from hell?
Yeah. I'm glad you said it. I don't know if I could use that language, but it really is. It takes a lot of your personal time, and your, just physically. Sometimes it can be very exhausting. Like it'll take me a week to recover from a bad on-call week, and last week was one of those. It was an intense weekend, particularly with a lot of really tragic things happening in one day in rapid succession, and that can happen from time to time. But it really gives me an amazing sense of what our first responders go through every day.
How about that? So tell us about your background. I understand you're from a foreign country, one of the other countries.
As my husband likes to call it, I come from America's loft. So yeah, I'm Canadian. I was born and raised in Saskatchewan, right up there.
Oh, there you go. Visual aid. That's awesome. Yeah.
So right above North Dakota.
I spent 3.5 years in North Dakota.
Oh, no kidding.
And I never made it to Canada.
Cold,
I was dumb. Go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Right now it's minus 41 degrees Celsius in my hometown. I've been seeing alerts like crazy, and I'm like, this is good enough. This is cold enough right now for me. So yes, I grew up in the middle of Canada, moved to Vancouver. I spent 13 years out in Vancouver, went to school there, went to journalism school. And
then
was
you
up
entered the
for a
TV
while.
news business.
Exactly. I worked for the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation for nearly 20 years. So Vancouver, Toronto, and Washington, D.C., where they have a bureau as well.
So that's how you first came to the States, is to work in the Canadian Broadcasting Company DC bureau.
Correct.
And that must have been interesting.
I
in and of itself.
arrived 4 days after Donald Trump was elected. So.
Oh my God. And how long were you there?
I was only there till 2018, and then I moved to Pittsburgh. So I was only there 2 years.
Well, and I'm not trying to get political on you here, but there were, it was an eventful couple of years. Was it just crazy town?
It was exhausting. Because if you've been in the news business, so TV in particular. I mean, I did radio as well, but TV in particular is it's time consuming. You gather all your elements and you shoot all your all the interviews that you need. But what would happen there is you'd be ready to go to air, and the story would 100% change on a daily basis, almost, with one tweet or one, Comey's been fired, or, that kind of thing. It was just everything out.
Yeah.
So it was physically exhausting and emotionally exhausting. Yeah.
How do, I don't want to make you the spokesperson for all of Canada, but how do your fellow Canadians, and I know you're an American, I should be a dual citizenship now or something like that?
I am actually a permanent resident. I have not taken out, I think this is the year I can actually, because you can't right away. So I've been here for 4.5 years.
Okay.
So
how do your fellow Canadians look upon these crazy Americans?
Yeah. I think, it's funny, like, the saying in Canada is, if the US sneezes, Canada catches a cold. And it's like, it's a very Americans don't think about Canada much, but Canada thinks about the US constantly. So everything from trade and tourism and all the politics, it really affected Canada very deeply, because it's a country of 35 million people. So the US is 10 times larger, and the auto sector depends on the US. Everything, and a lot of people have family ties. I don't really know very many people who I grew up with who didn't travel to the US a lot or have family in the US. So it was a tumultuous time for even Canada.
I'm sure that it was. So how did you end up making the switch from DC journalist to a public information officer in Pittsburgh?
Okay, so my husband is American, and he got transferred to Pittsburgh. And so I decided, you know what, maybe time to try something new, because quite honestly, it was very taxing doing what I was doing in DC. Interesting every day, but I thought at this point in my career, I wanted to try something different. And this was the perfect job for someone just out of journalism, just because you're learning something every day. You don't have to know, you can ask all these people all the stupid questions you have. And it's really been a remarkable transition for me, and a good one. Because police will always ask me, why do you like this job? They constantly say that to me. Why do you like this job? I'm like, you can't go from, broadcast journalism to, maybe some people can go to a very staid corporate, communications job, but I don't know. This is a great landing spot.
Does it help to build a rapport with the reporters, just to build credibility? And
absolutely. And the media in this city has been they've been really respectful and really respectful of my time overnight. They know not to call, they know to email, and they're always, they don't have to apologize, but they're always very apologetic when they're, emailing at 3 a.m. I've had really great experiences with people here, and, they've helped me, I've helped them. I think Pittsburgh is also special that way. People actually still watch local news here on a regular basis. It's, that appointment television is very rare in most markets, as you would know.
Yeah, this is a throwback market in that a lot of people still watch television news, no question.
Very much. And you hear people, like even young people, saying like, oh, I got to get home and watch what? Most places it's all online, and and people are not even, they're streaming even the news. So Yeah, it's
Right.
interesting.
So you're in the city county building as I am for this as we speak, correct? You still go in a lot, even though the building
I
is
do.
often largely empty.
I do. So I actually spend a lot more time at police headquarters than I do at the city county building. And then when the pandemic hits, we've been working off laptops that just have, ports at city county and at police and fire and everything. So oftentimes I'll get, working on my computer at home and I'll have to run out to something. But if I forgot my computer at home, I have to I don't actually have a physical computer anymore. So I always have to have it with me. Yeah. It's a new thing.
I work in the Department of Innovation and Performance, and we're supposed to maintain the computers. Are we doing a good job?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I know it's a tough job because, I mean, every single department has completely different needs. It's not like one, corporation where it's, you have the same thing, but everyone's doing something completely different. It must be a challenge.
So how are you coping with the insanity of COVID? Are you and your husband ready to kill each other, or is everything hunky-dory?
Well, truth be told, he actually got transferred down to Texas. So yeah, so now we're living apart again. So yes, it's that's
what'll help keep you together, probably.
Yes, exactly. So for the first part of to answer your question, and to be completely honest, since he is not here, it was terrible. And
wow.
we did kill each other. Yeah.
How about that?
Yes, indeed.
And you weren't even stuck at home all the time, and you still wanted to kill.
Yeah, in the beginning I was for the first 3 weeks, and that was the limit. I still remember going into the city county the very first time, and it was just like. So
do that one more time. Otherwise, how are you coping with COVID? Just the isolation, you can't go everywhere you used to be able to go, et cetera.
Yeah, it's funny. I was saying to someone today, I miss, sometimes if I'm writing a news release or something and I need to get out of my, just out of the space I'm in to go to, one of the great coffee shops in the Strip or somewhere and just, pound out something, but there's no gathering culture anymore, and that I find that really hard because, bigger cities, like that's where they get their energy from, all the, things you can do and, people you can meet up with at a good restaurant or a bar or wherever. So I miss that. I miss that aspect.
Do you have any final words, Cara Cruz?
No, I've been so lucky that with this job. I mean, when I first moved here, it was a little hard actually to find a job. And I think a lot of it was my resume, has a lot of Canadian things on it that people are not, are kind of confused by. And so I was grateful that someone noticed that I could add to the, public safety, and it's been a great landing pad for me. I loved it.
Well, before I got this job, I applied to 2 jobs in the Department of Public Safety, and they turned me down both times. So I think they're very wise people in your department.
Oh, goodness.
And they found you. All right, Cara, thank you so much for being on the show.
It was fun. Thank you.
That is it for this time. We'll see you next time on City Talk.